50th anniversary of President Lyndon Johnson's speech in the War on Poverty. So my first question is, why isn't President Obama saying anything about the war on poverty today?
That's a great question. It seems like it would be just the right time to start talking about the war on poverty. I think it's for two reasons. One, the very politicized and mixed bag that the war on poverty has been for Democrats in the past decade or so, but also because President Obama, it seems to me, like the rest of the Democratic Party, is focusing less on poverty and more on inequality. And so there's a way in which that focus on inequality is quite different, and that's where they want to keep people's focus.
But isn't it, for example, the Republicans are making a big deal of this, obviously. They're saying, look, and we've been talking about this the last couple of days. So there were, when LBJ first used this phrase in his State of the Union, his first State of the Union in 2063, there were 19% of Americans living in poverty. Today, there are 15%. So Marco Rubio is giving a big speech today on the floor of the Senate where he's saying the war on poverty is a failure, a total failure, and this proves it. He's not the only one. Other Republicans are saying that. There's nothing. I don't hear any voices on the Democratic side saying, hey, wait a minute. It'd be a lot worse today if we didn't have these social programs that are keeping people, Social Security, for one, above the poverty level.
That's right. And they should be fighting back against that messaging because the war on poverty in its first 6 years reduced the poverty rate in the U.S. by 43%, right? It dropped down to 12%. It's bounced up a little bit since then. But it's also, and this is the point that I think even commentators are missing, it changed the quality of poverty in the United States. Abject hunger, complete lack of access to medical care. Those are things that America's poor don't have to deal with in the same way anymore. And that I think is important as well. We might have 15% of Americans in poverty, but their poverty looks substantially different than the poverty of the 1960s.
Yeah. Might be hard to convince them of that, but I think you're right. The abject poverty that those conditions are not experienced anymore. It's still bad, and it's still...
That's right. I'm not to say that it's desirable at all, but that is one of the legacies of the war on poverty and something to keep in mind when people start talking about cutting food stamps and other war on poverty programs.
And it does seem to me, and I'll raise this question with Jay Carney later today if I have an opportunity, that there are so many things the president is talking about that fit under the rubric or the headline, if you will, of the war on poverty: raising the minimum wage, extending unemployment insurance benefits, doing something about income inequality, the unearned tax credit, all things that the president supports. If you can wrap them up and put them in a package called War on Poverty Phase 2 or Renewed, or,
And this is where I think both that legacy of the war on poverty politically and also the difference between poverty and inequality come into play. I think one of the cases President Obama is trying to make is that this isn't just the government intervening on behalf of the poor. It's intervening on behalf of all of Americans who have lost out in this growing inequality in the United States. And that encompasses quite a bit more than just poor Americans.
So, in other words, income inequality is a kind of a broader umbrella, is that what you're saying, which would include certainly the middle class and anybody who's not, I guess, part of the top 1 or 2%.
That's right. I'm sure you've talked about this many times, the ways in which the gains in the economy since the Great Recession have gone primarily to those at the very top. And so you've seen the middle class, the working class, and the poor losing out in significant ways. So inequality is, in a way, a broader message than a war on poverty.